And talking about lows, the last week was a tough one for NASA. They were hoping to launch their ambitious lunar mission, Artemis 1. They tried twice and both times they failed. The first attempt was on Monday. Engineers detected two problems with the launcher. One, a hydrogen fuel leak, and two, a temperature issue. One of the engines was too hot for takeoff. So NASA abandoned the launch on Monday. 4 days later, they tried again, and déjà vu. Engineers detected another hydrogen fuel leak. Just hours before the countdown, they cancelled the launch again. So that's two failures in 1 week.
We've talked about it before. This is an incredibly hard business. This is an initial test flight of this vehicle. As was said by Administrator Nelson, we're going to fly when we're ready. And as part of this initial test flight, we're learning the vehicle. We're learning how to operate the vehicle, and we are learning all of the things required to get us ready to fly.
So when will NASA try again? A 2-week launch blackout kicks in tomorrow, which means no attempt until late September, perhaps even October. So Artemis will likely be grounded for a long time. The question is, what does it say about NASA? I know it's a government agency, but even so, it is one of the top brands in the world. You have NASA t-shirts, mugs, bumper stickers. The United States marketed the agency like anything, and why not? In the 20th century, NASA was the zenith of space exploration. They landed people on the moon, they landed rovers on Mars, they sent shuttles into deep space, they fought off alien invasions in Hollywood. And now they can't even launch a rocket. Forget placing it in the moon's orbit or landing it. NASA cannot even get liftoff right. What explains this string of failures? To understand that, we must look into the Artemis program. There are 3 Artemis missions planned. The first one is unmanned, but the second one in 2024 does involve astronauts. They will circle the moon and return. The final one is Artemis 3 in 2025. That mission will land human beings on the moon, including the first woman and the first person of color. I know it sounds like a great, noble idea, but think of the cost. The first Artemis mission could cost around $4.1 billion. By 2025, the expenses will top $93 billion. $93 billion to land people on the moon. The question is, what for? NASA first landed humans on the moon in 1969. Put together, 12 men have walked on the lunar surface. The last one was in 1972. But since then, NASA never tried it. Visiting the moon was considered too expensive and frankly pointless. Listen to how former US President Barack Obama dismissed the idea.
I understand that some believe that we should attempt a return to the surface of the moon first, as previously planned. But I just have to say, pretty bluntly here, we've been there before. Buzz has been there. There's a lot more of space to explore and a lot more to learn when we do.
That was in 2010. Obama said, we've been there before, so why is the US going again? Well, here's what NASA's website says, and I'm quoting, "We're going back to the moon for scientific discovery, economic benefits, and inspiration for a new generation of explorers." I'll tell you what, that is some expensive inspiration, almost $100 billion to inspire explorers. As for the economic benefits, it's a non-starter. The moon has not developed any new resources in the last 50 years, and even if it has, extracting them is a nightmare. So logically, this mission makes no sense. Then why is NASA doing it? For 2 reasons. Number one, to sustain jobs. NASA employs around 17,000 people directly, more than 100,000 if you add the contractors. And aerospace is a lot like defense manufacturing in the US. It is a nexus of multiple companies and suppliers. All of them are working to keep this industry alive. How? With pointless missions like Artemis. Reason number 2, it's a vanity project. The US is not the conquering superpower it was in the late 20th century. It is losing the technology race to China. So what do? Unveil a typical American project. Expensive, wasteful, and pointless. Artemis is supposed to project American tech supremacy. Instead, it is doing the opposite. It is exposing America's weaknesses. Take the rocket engines, for example. NASA got 24 single-use engines for $3.5 billion, almost $145 million per engine. Again, the question is why? Companies like SpaceX use reusable rockets and engines. I could say the same about most of NASA's technology, outdated but expensive. And one reason for that could be the private space race. Companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin, they pay a lot. Their missions are more frequent, they're exciting. So naturally, they attract the better talent. Just think of NASA as one of those old legacy businesses. Yes, they have brand value, but the new companies are miles ahead. Which sums up the United States of America for you. They're throwing money at space exploration, but NASA's problem is not money, it is innovation. Countries like India and China are doing the same missions for a fraction of the cost. If you think about it, it's a reverse of the Cold War. Back then, the US bankrupted the Soviet Union with a space race. This time, they're bankrupting themselves. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.